Welcome. In this video, I'll be playing Citizen Sleeper 2 and narrating the game softly to you whilst you fall asleep. I'm MadMorph, and this is part of my Fall Asleep With series where I play games to help you get the rest that you deserve. This one is a sci-fi adventure set on space stations, and of course, if you enjoy me talking and reading to you, do check out my podcast Down to Sleep, which is on Spotify, everywhere you get podcasts, and has 2 YouTube channels where I read books, classic and modern, to help you sleep. And now, let's tuck you in. Take a nice deep breath for me, and let's get down to sleep with Citizen Sleeper 2. In the moment before waking, the dark space before conscious thought, you struggle to find the pieces of yourself. Usually these pieces come with a particular cadence, each appearing sequentially, like the boot process of an old terminal. First, your body, artificial, compromised but relaying sense data all the same. Then it's context, the breeze of air filtration, the soft contact of your birth in 0G. Then emotion, coming into focus, coming into your body, bringing with it that first instinct, the one that has framed your past 100 cycles. Fear. But that familiar sequence does not arrive. Instead, you are unmoored in space, your body distant, your context silent, even your emotions somehow obscured and scattered. Among all that disarray, only one familiar thing arrives: the fear. It is a scrambled, panicked fear, the drowning fear, the falling fear, the fear that makes you reach desperately for any stable point. It is the fear that tells you something is wrong. Something is very wrong with you. Tell me something I don't know. Wake up, sleeper, the voice is whispered in your ear, an act that makes you suddenly aware of your head, pulsing in pain, your body rigid with tension. Sleeper, a familiar name, a mind copied, emulated, a body built, implanted. One person sleeping until their debt is worked away. Their double being made to work, to be consumed and eventually to be destroyed. A proxy, an emulation, a sleeper. That is what you are. I am pretty good at sleeping. Okay, this sounds interesting already. This sounds like, a bit like Severance, if you know that show. But you escaped. You remember that now. Broke free of your corporate creators. Essen up. In search of a future, you cannot remember the details of your escape, but you know the fear has been with you ever since. All of a sudden, you remember you have eyes, and your eyes flicker open. Pale eyes in a pale face. Lane. The name comes with its own specific sensation of fear, one you recoil from instinctively. Sorry to interrupt, a sharp smirk, but this ends here. Relentless, cruel, and on your trail. Lane. You search your mind for more than a name. Is this how you reward me for my generosity? Lane is leaning over your horizontal, floating body, looking down into your eyes. I took you in, protected you, gave you a purpose. You try to look away, to the corners of your vision, to find something you understand. Your body does not respond. And I suppose that wasn't enough. He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and retrieves a small vial. This wasn't enough. The vial glitters, the object you know and have known for a long time. Stabilizer, the drug that keeps your artificial body, your emulated mind from inevitable decay. The only balm for your planned obsolescence. The liquid rolling in the vial fills you with disgust. Lane pockets the vial. But it would be wasted on you now, after what you've done to this body of yours. He looks at you with a palpable disgust. Lane's eyes scan your body, and as they do, you become aware of the wires and tubes attached to you, those that were meant to free you from your dependence, from the stabilizer and the control it grants Lane. They are free, you piece of shit. They don't need you anymore. The voice comes from somewhere behind Lane's head. It's a voice you know, but when you search your mind to try to understand why, you find only dizzying darkness. Shut him up. Lane barks the command, and you hear the sounds of impact, of pain from somewhere else in the room. You try to move your limbs again, and this time you feel a flicker, the twitch of a finger. You feel the extension and compression of a synthetic muscle. Free, are you? Lane smirks. You were free when I disabled your tracker, when I gave you the stabilizer you needed. He scans your body with angry eyes. Now, you aren't free. You are just broken. I had such big plans for you, Sleeper. I invested in you. Lane grips your arm hard and you feel a jolt of reaction. You will the arm to move. But you have ruined all that. Lane speaks louder over the sound of the struggle behind him. I will try to preserve your body, of course. I have my own uses for it. But your emulation... You feel one of his hands searching behind your head. He finds and grips the thick cable running into the port at the base of your skull. I'll burn that out. Lane jerks forward, slamming across your body, then spinning away out of sight. You feel yourself rolling, the cables plugged into you looping and wrapping around your limbs. Then you feel hands steadying you, pulling cables. You glance around wildly and see someone diligently unplugging you. You meet his eyes. Our mysterious savior. Hey, he waves a hand in your dazed face. We need to move. Lane won't be out long. He unloops a cable from around your wrist. Sleeper, help me out here. You blink slowly. Do you know this person? He leans over you and you feel his hands on the connector, flicking switches, releasing locks. Come on, come on, come on. He tugs the connector clear and pulls you up. You see the room you are in for the first time, filled with tech and terminals, wires waving everywhere, all lit by big windows looking out on an impossibly bright screen-filled street beyond. In the corner you see the dark shape of a floating body surrounded by a glittering constellation of crimson baubles. Is that blood? Move. You are wrestled and shoved towards the door, which slides open in front of you, and then you are out in all that brightness, all that movement, gliding hard towards some unknown destination. You come to a stop in a dark alley, the one who guided you here pausing to catch his breath. He doubles over beside a massive life support unit that sends a lukewarm breeze across your skin. You stare at him, trying to recall anything about him. You notice his tattered jacket, his lightweight clothes. You remember this station runs hot. Something about the power that flows through the place. He looks up and meets your eye. What's going on, Sleeper? He wipes sweat from his forehead and it floats away in a swarm of spheres. Talk to me. Who are you? You see a concerned frown cross his face. Don't mess with me, Sleeper, that's not funny. He comes closer, eyeing you carefully. What station are we on? He narrows his eyes, waits for the answer. You close your eyes, trying to recall. You force your way through the dark to the image of a station. No, a city, growing on the back of a vast set of hexagonal solar cells, shadowed by them. You open your eyes. Dark side. The word leaves your mouth like an exhale, an instinct. Before you heard yourself sound it out, you didn't know it was there. He sighs. And me? Who am I? You see something like fear in his eyes, panic, perhaps. You stare hard at his face, the slight upturn of his mouth, the intensity of his stare. Nothing comes. He closes his eyes and drops his head, putting a hand to his temple. The reboot. He's speaking quietly to himself. Lane interrupted the process, and he lifts his head and stares at you. We need to keep going. We need to leave. He turns and kicks off down the alley. Come on, the rig can't be far. As you are led through the passages and service ways of the station, you try to recall your life here. The texture, the temperature of Darkside feels familiar, but you struggle to pin specific memories to it. Focusing hard, you recall waking up in these passages cycle after cycle, the rhythms of the station flowing over you along with the crowds. You recall desperation and the slow decay of your body that caused it. Then Lane, those pale eyes, offering you a glittering vial, stabilizer, the promise of supplying more for your work, a deal he locked you into like a cage. There, your memory fails you, but in the dark, beyond that moment, the residue of panic, of fear, remains. You were Lane's prisoner, Lane's plaything. You shudder in the cold passage. Wait, your guide holds up a hand and you stop your glide using the wall. Ahead you see the tunnel opens up into a wide open bay with a few doors leading to cylindrical tunnels, the docks. They're watching the rig. He nods towards the docks and you see one of the doors has a couple of figures flanking it, one covered in ornate tattoos, the other with bright silver implants along their cheekbones. Atsubo, Lane's guys. He looks at you and shakes his head in frustration. All this, it's not coming back to you, is it? Something catches your eye and you see he is playing with a coin, nervously turning it over and over in his fingers. He sees you looking and slips it away. He places a hand on his chest. I'm Seraphim, alright? He looks pained when he speaks. Lane, he was our captor, both of us. We did this so we could escape. We needed to reboot you, to break your dependence on stabilizer. He pauses. You know what that is, right? You nod meekly. But Lane interrupted me back there. The reboot didn't complete, and he sighs and shakes his head. We can still make this work. He looks back at the docks. I'll lead them away. You get the docking bridge open. If we make it to the rig, I know how to get us in. Got that? He searches your face for a sign of recognition. What's the rig? Seraphim looks annoyed. A ship. Our ship. Or at least it soon will be. Lane assigned it to us when we were on jobs for him. Get that door open. He pats you on the shoulder. I know you can do this. Seraphim kicks off hard and glides into the docks. Over here, shitheads, he bellows to the guards as he barrels through. They immediately push off from the wall, giving chase. You wait a breath. Oh, during scenes you may encounter skill checks. Perform certain actions using your skills. Like dice actions you'll encounter later, skill checks have positive, neutral, or negative outcomes. The better the rating of your skill, the more likely you succeed on a check. The odds of success are displayed when you select a check. So it's like a little bit like Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop RPGs in general. We've got dice rolls. You wait a breath, then glide across to the door they were guarding. You look, already panicked, at the tightly sealed door. Its control panel locked out. You hear a shout from somewhere nearby. You need to get it open. So I can hack the door or break the seal. I'm going to hack. Positive outcome, minus stress. You shift to the control panel, your fingers dancing across the keys. Without thinking, you access the maintenance layer and trigger a fire safety venting procedure. The panel drones out a klaxon, and the door pops open with a hiss. Go, go! Seraphim flies past you, through the doorway into the docking tunnel. You turn to see the two guards approaching fast across the docks, and quickly glide after Seraphim. Seraphim is already at the rig's door, inputting an entry code. The rig's door scissors open, and you both rush inside. Quickly! Seraphim grabs you by the arm and drags you up to the cockpit, the ship's layout hazy in your mind. He dumps you in a flight seat and straps himself into his own. You see him tap a series of buttons as he does, talking to himself. Come on. The rig's drive rumbles into life, and Seraphim slams a button on the console. You feel the force of the ship's acceleration as it pulls away. As the ship glides into place on the connecting bridge, its automatic systems nudged there by the port's docking protocols, you feel a sense of relief. Seraphim burned hard out of Darkside, and you dropped in and out of consciousness in your seat as the rig made its way across the belt. But now, with open space between you and Lane, you feel fresher, more awake. Seraphin breaks the silence. We're good, Sleeper. His eyes don't leave the monitor, and you realize that this part of your escape is routine for him. You and he must have docked this ship countless times in your work for Lane. The problem is, you don't remember any of them. We made it, he whispers, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. We certainly did. He turns and you see a pained look on his face as if remembering something difficult. Have you said this exact same thing to him before, in the same situation? Are you okay? He looks at you, chewing one side of his lip, searching your face. Not really, he puffs. Seraphin reaches up, flicking through a set of switches in a practiced fashion, completing the shutdown. You watch, a little frustrated with your own uselessness. Running the rig, you realize, is just another thing you've forgotten. A clunk that runs through the walls of the ship is followed by a short, percussive alarm tone from the pilot's console. Docking complete. Seraphin kicks off from his seat, twisting as he glides past you towards the back of the cockpit. His hands find the rails on either side of the door and he pauses, facing into the corridor beyond. He turns back to you, backlit in cold cyan. We need a plan. He glances around. Lane's not going to let us slip away quietly. He sighs. We need to talk. Seraphin furrows his brow. Not now, Sleeper. We need to forget. He flinches, the words coming out wrong. We need to focus on something other than... He pauses again, unsure. Us, he sighs. We need to survive this thing first. Then, maybe we talk. Fine by me. Seraphin nods, but the tension remains. We brought ourselves some time. He glances out through the cockpit window at the blinking lights of the station. You may not remember Hexport, but I do. There are plenty of opportunities here for us, if we can keep our heads down. He turns back to the corridor. That's what we'll do. He pushes off and glides towards the main lock, and you follow, pulling yourself along hand over hand in 0G. We already emptied the tank on this thing. He slaps a hand against the ship's insides. So, we need to refuel, and that won't be cheap. But if you and I know one thing, Sleeper, it's how to work. I'm going to get myself reacquainted, see if I can turn up any old connections. People that might throw us an easy contract. He glances back over his shoulder. You keep out of trouble. Low profile, got it. Seraphin stops at the airlock. Stopping the reboot halfway through, he pulls a worn crew jacket from a locker and starts pulling it on. We don't know what that did to you. He jams an arm into a sleeve. I don't want you passing out and... Don't baby me. Seraphin shoots you a glare. Fine. He grabs another crew jacket and thrusts it at you. Just put the damn hood up, will you? You take it and slip it on. Thank you. Seraphin nods. He stabs at the button to open the lock. The inner door hisses open, and Seraphin glides through. Wait for a little bit, then leave. Anyone looking for us will be looking for two people traveling together. He looks at you in your worn crew jacket, a limited disguise for what is clearly a sleeper. We meet back here later. Any trouble? Same thing. Meet here. He surveys your disguise again and shakes his head. This is a shitty idea. He gives you one last look. Maybe find yourself something to eat. Suddenly you recognize Seraphin's instinct to look after you. A flash of a relationship now lost to the reboot. Catch. Seraphin throws a handful of something towards you. You manage to grab the projectiles, When you open your hand, you see a stack of cryochits. Those should get you some food. We'll need some more for fuel and supplies. He grimaces. That means odd jobs on the station, for both of us. Seraphim kicks off and glides down the docking bridge. Don't go too far, alright? He shouts as he leaves. Take it slow. And with that, he is gone, leaving the connecting bridge and heading into Hexport's docking concourse. You wait for a moment, in silence. Think about Seraphim. It's hard to know what's going on inside Seraphim's head. Here he is, on some hapless escape plan with a friend who can't remember a thing about him. You try to imagine how close you both must have been for him to agree to this thing, but it's painful to think about. That's all gone now anyway. All you can do is move on. You shake the thoughts from your head and pull the jacket tight. Let's see what Hexport has to offer. You kick off and glide into port. Welcome to Citizen Sleeper 2. The game runs in cycles during which you can perform actions with your dice, use cryo to buy food, fuel, supplies and items, progress clocks towards new scenes and events. You can review tutorials at any time. I think we should listen to our good friend and perhaps find somewhere to get some food. So we have an Hexport exchange. Perform actions by assigning action dice to them. The higher the dice you assign, the more likely you'll succeed at an action. Your dice will be modified by your skill. Your skill modifier for the action is displayed on the right and will reduce or increase the value of the dice assigned to the action. Like skill checks, dice actions have 3 outcomes: positive, negative, neutral. Each action is also rated safe, risky, or dangerous. The more dangerous an action is, the more significant its rewards and consequences. So we have 3 choices. We can trade scrap, the rules of the exchange, the conversation of commerce, or impress the brokers. Data brokers are the heart of the exchange, show off their knowledge by discussing description. Maybe you can talk the talk. Rules of the exchange. I'm picking between these 2 things. I think we're going to impress the brokers. So I believe these are my dice up here. So if I put a 5, interface skill proficient, 100%. I think that means I have a 100% chance of success. 50% if I do a 4. We'll put a 5 in. You intervene when 2 brokers struggle to unpick a Senate stat catch and expertly unpick its security protocols. They are impressed. Okay. Action complete. So we did that. Am I able to continue with this? I can continue with this. Or will it be repeating the same thing? Let's leave this area for a moment. Can I? So it seems that's given me access to the trade hall. And the docks are buzzing, so I'm going to go there. Chat to crews or explore the docks. Let us roll on chatting to some crew. You join a few spacers resting in the docks and pick up a few local tips. And I have 2 1 dice and 1 6 dice. Hexport's docks are a dizzying mess of braided cables and flickering signage filled with busy spaces. Exploring is thrilling and intimidating. So it looks like if I fill this up, I missed the tutorial that popped up about this, but we advance the story. Let's check out the trade hall. Buy supplies. Buy fuel. We have 24 cryo and currently no fuel. Let's buy some fuel and buy some supplies. And then leave. Let's continue impressing the brokers. A 1 roll would be 50-50. Let's do a 6 and just ensure it succeeds. You've established a presence here. The brokers seem to be a little more comfortable around you. So now that action is unavailable. We completed this clock for the rules of the exchange. So I wonder how that... New location discovered. The canteen. Here you can eat in exchange for cryo. Eating gives you energy and stops you from starving. Different foods give different amounts of energy. So that's 13 cryo to eat there, which I don't have anymore. Oops. Let's go back to the rig. The rig is your ship and your home in the starboard belt. While the rig is docked at a hub, there are multiple areas you can visit. Bunks use dice to reduce stress. Galley use supplies to regain energy. Other locations will unlock as you play. While the rig is in dock at a hub, your crew will also help to gather resources to contribute to the upkeep of your ship. I get a crew? That's cool. You can choose which resources they should focus on in the crew task menu on the left. They have a random chance of acquiring it at the beginning of the following cycle, like a turn. So I can tell Seraphin to do odd jobs, scavenge fuel, or source supplies. And we have a cycle clock for on the run. He'll close the gap. Lane is still after us. Let's get Seraphin to do odd jobs, I guess. And I can end the cycle. Well, I may as well spend my 2 dice, I think. Let's see, how do we get back? There we go. I will explore the docks with a 1 dice roll for fun. You find yourself the target of some bored and aggressive spacers and try to lose them in the dark passages. Try it again. Oh, okay. I lost quite a bit of energy. Failed it twice. The same thing happened. So let's go back to the rig and end our first cycle. You've used all your energy and you're starving. While starving, you gain 1 stress per cycle, and any energy loss accrues stress. Eat. We're in trouble, sleeper. Seraphin leans into the bunks as you're getting up. Without further explanation, he disappears down the corridor towards the rear of the ship. You drift out into the passage, pulling on your clothes, and glide down the length of the rig, the cool air making you shiver. Seraphin is a silhouette, silently leading the way. He stops at the far end, diverting through a side door, shooting you a glance as he does. You find Seraphin inside, holding one of a tangle of arm-thick tubes that are waving in the 0G engine room. You know what these are? Tubes? Seraphin rolls his eyes, but you see the hint of a smile. Thanks, genius. These are the engine's feed lines. He waves one in the air. And before you ask, no, they aren't supposed to be waggling loose. What did you do? Seraphin laughs. Oh, I see how it is. These must have broken loose when we pushed the ship hard on our way out of Darkside. He looks at the mess. We're lucky the reserve tank's empty. Otherwise, he shakes his head. Would have been bad. But he pushes the pipe to the side. No feed from the reserve tank means the rig's range is limited to the local region only. He thumps the large lumpen housing of the engine. This thing can't take us anywhere far. So we fix it? That's the short of it. Seraphim whacks the engine housing again, harder this time. Just not been our run of luck. He turns and starts gathering the tangled feed lines, his frustration evident in the violence of his movements. We'll need a new set of these, that's for sure. He starts forcing them into a crate. So how about you try and track him down? I'll take a look at things here, see if I can figure out another fix for the reserve tank. He glances up from his work. From what I've heard on Hexport, Factory Row's the place to find ship fitters. Maybe you can do some recon while I sort this place out. It's on the other end of the station. Okay, I'll take a look. Seraphim keeps working. Wait, Seraphim pauses, seemingly unsure. There's something else. He drops the feed lines and they float, waving in the air like tubular seaweed. I've heard word that Lane's on the hunt. He frowns. A message went out everywhere in the local radius of Darkside. He's looking for us. Shit. You said it, Seraphim sighs. Which is why we need those feed lines. I'm gonna try and work something out. Maybe I can improvise a solution, I don't know. He looks down. I'm no ship fitter. But while I do, you go hunting. See what you can turn up, okay? He smiles a weak smile. Get going. You leave the engine room, the clanking sound of Seraphim's cleanup efforts echoing through the ship. Fuel feed lines, that's the next step. You take a deep breath, then head out. You've discovered a drive. Drives help you track and choose your objectives in Citizen Sleeper 2. The arrow button in the top left opens the drive menu where you can choose which drive to track. Once a drive is tracked, a yellow marker will be placed above any location that relates to that drive. Drives come in two types, major and minor. On completion, a major drive rewards 2 upgrade points and a minor rewards 1. Keep an eye on the drive menu as you progress to see what new opportunities and objectives are available and track those you want to pursue. Baby, my drive is to escape Hexport. That's my drive. Yeah? Am I tracking it? I'm tracking it. Okay, so it seems like we get random assigned dice rolls. We've got 3 1s, a 4, and a 3 on this cycle. While we continue on the run. We do need to eat as well, but let's leave the rig here and go to the map. New location discovered. Factory Row. Can I eat this food? Because I have supplies. I have food, water, and materials in cargo, but can I eat those? This is the character screen. You can upgrade and configure your sleeper. On the left, you can upgrade your skills to improve skill modifiers. To the right, you can upgrade your push, the unique ability of your class. When upgrading your push, only one upgrade at each level can be active at once. Configure which upgrade is active at the hub. I have 0 points available, so we'll worry about this later. I don't see a way to eat. The canteen is 3 more cryo than I have. Let's go to our new location. Let's search the row. The factory owners of the row speak mostly in terms of supply and demand, but going door to door might help you find the ship fitter you need. Let's do a 4 roll. You spend as much time listening as you do talking and seem to make some headway into negotiating a contract. Okay. I will also roll a 1 here. Okay, did it again. Trusted supplier. Good outcome again. So we're sort of trying to fill this up to find a supplier for these things. with the find a ship fitter being what we're trying to do. Let's roll another one. You ramble through some attempts to discuss scrap claims nearby, but the mood sours fast. You leave feeling under threat. You gain some stress. Stress increases have a higher chance of taking damage to action dice when you roll them. Ah. Okay. But if we roll one more time with a 3, we should unlock this, if we succeed. You have a little trust with the factories. The trick is not to waste it. Okay, so we filled our thing up. Factory Row howls as you glide through its cramped passages. Whatever its many bays and rooms once were, they now serve as containers for the industry of every kind. Whirring manufactories precisely engineer components with rapidly shifting arms, while scrappers hammer incessantly at bent ship plates. Everywhere you look, there is energy and activity, and for good reason. Hexport itself is built on the derelict fragments of a solar reflector, and even the small amount of energy generated by its remaining mirrors is enough to power a city of machines. It is familiar to you, of course, in a strange, far-off way because of Darkside. That place and your memories of it are a muddy haze, but it is hard to forget the glint of its hexagonal reflectors, 10 or 20 times more in number than Hexport's, and that wild, flickering city, growing on their back like a tumor. In comparison, Hexport feels provincial, but deep in Factory Row, you could almost be back in Darkside. And then you see them, tubes, just like those Seraphine had waved in your face, the feed lines. You push over to the display window of the unit marked Carston's Supply in block capitals cut from hull plate. There, amongst an angled shelf of oversized ship components, sit the feed lines, like some large biomechanical tangle of snakes. You slip inside where the sound of Factory Row is a little screened, and spot a large figure working on a bench, hunched over, concentrating. It seems he doesn't notice you enter. Hello? A sharp eye glints as the figure looks over his shoulder. Can I help you? His accent is heavy but unknown to you. Those feed lines, how much? There's a sharp clink as Carston places his tools in the component against a magnetic plate on the wall. He turns with surprising grace and begins cleaning his hands on a cloth. Those sharp eyes scan you, but Carston's thick-set features do not betray the results of his assessment. Custom built those, for a client that never collected. He looks at his hands while he speaks, checking for stray oil stains. You have one of the old MEVs then? He sounds out the letters in a way you don't recognize as he speaks. You try to recall anything you know about your ship, but the memories elude you. Perhaps Seraphine should have come along. That's right. Carston nods. Always good to see one of those still running. Look. Carston drifts over to where you're standing, his imposing height evident. For a fellow enthusiast like you, he continues in a distinctive monotone. Let's say a few hundred cryo on clean chits. He shoots a glance at the feed lines. 400, let's say, to be precise. 400? 400, Carston says back, repeating your question without the emphasis. It's expensive, I know. It's a shame, but it's just what they're worth. He screws up his mouth a little into something that might be a smile. However, I'm more of the bartering type myself anyway. Barter sounds good. Carston nods sagely. It's a little favor I need a crew for, and well, you look like you might be a good fit. He tucks the cloth away in a pocket and clasps his hands. I know of an old Solheim wreck out there. Very old, pre-collapse. It's tucked away in a dead zone, so no one has ever really cut it. He shrugs. Not only that, but Solheim derelicts have a habit of triggering nasty security protocols when approached by an unfamiliar ship, so it's been left well alone. But a salvager like you, with an old Solheim rig, I bet it wouldn't even flinch if it saw you coming. He smiles. I have a special interest, a need for that old tech. All these Solheim ships had a data core, and while I don't care about the accounting reports or material ledgers or whatever they kept on that damn thing, I do care about the hardware. So, if I was to find you back here, with that data core in your cargo hold, clean cut and complete, well then, I could see my way to doing a straight barter for those feed lines. Karsten pauses, sniffs at the air again. You just need the coordinates. Let's do it. Alright then. He holds out a heavy hand for you to shake, and as you automatically reach out, he grabs your forearm instead. Karsten pulls you closer, squeezing your arm. Let's keep this one between us, alright? He half smiles, his face huge and close. It's our deal. Before you can respond, he thumbs a little drive into your palm. Those coordinates. And then he lets go of your arm with what you swear is a wink. You take a moment to gather yourself, and by the time you do, a whirring fills the air, Karsten having returned to his workbench. You turn and glide out of Karsten's supply with a growing mix of anxiety and excitement in the pit of your stomach, the cacophony of Factory Row in your ears. A contract. Seraphin might even be impressed. You look at the drive in your palm and smile. This could be your route out. You think of leaving this place behind, in possession of an improved ship too. Suddenly a small but firm hand falls on your back, an equally small voice coming with it. Hey, wait up. You turn in the passage to see a young woman, her hair waving from the rapid glide she clearly just came out of to catch you. She steadies herself using your shoulder. Sorry, she smiles a quick and flat smile. Wanted to catch you. I'm Junie. Her dark eyes flick around nervously. You notice the portable terminal she carries, something data scrapers call a deck, and her backpack full of components and trailing wires. What's up? Karsten, she starts, still catching her breath. He sent me to grab you. She smiles that flat smile again. Wants me to come with you on that job? Her eyes shoot down to the drive in the palm of your hand. She smiles again. Are you sure? She nods. That's what he said. Karsten's always sending me on things like this. I guess he wants me to help you out. Keep an eye on things. I can be pretty helpful. So? She looks around the passage. Should I meet you at your ship, and you can tell me when you're ready to go? Okay, great. Her eyes light up. She notices she still has her hand on your shoulder and takes it off. Junie pushes off and waves. Looking forward to working with you, she calls back as an afterthought. What about the ship? Oh, I'll find it, she calls back and disappears down the passage. You watch her go, glad of the contract but nervous too. Will Karsten keep up his side of the bargain if you deliver? So we unlocked a crew member. I feel like she's actually just hitching a ride, and he didn't tell her that, but I'll let her on. I don't know about this, sleeper. Seraphin looks nervously out of the rig's windows as you finish explaining Karsten's deal, as well as Junie's offer to help. If this job was easy, Karsten would have done it himself already. That means there's a catch. He frowns at the stars. And there's definitely something going on with this Junie girl. He shakes his head. She'd be useful, though. No doubt. Seraphin shakes his head. We desperately need help on a job like this. What if... Seraphin narrows his eyes. We could get the cryo together to buy the feed lines. Is that even possible? I found a contract board at the exchange further in station. We take on a job that might get us some way towards buying those feed lines. Plus, even if we do want to take Karsten's job, a bit of money to get ourselves prepared wouldn't be a bad idea. Fill up on fuel, supplies, be ready for whatever comes. Do we have time? Probably not, but without cryo for fuel and supplies, we aren't going anywhere. Seraphin sighs. Just take a look at the contract board. See what you think. While you're at it, you might want to see if you can scare up some freelance crew too. Many hands make light work and all that. Or we stop messing around. We take Karsten's job right now and we get it done before he can think twice. Seraphin yawns. Seems like a whole set of bad options to me. Either way, I've still got work to do on the drive. Seraphin nods a farewell, heading back to the engine room. Let me know what you decide. For a moment you pause, letting the haze of plans and ideas settle in your mind. Suddenly you curl up, pain shooting along your spine. You grit your teeth, your muscles lock tight, your vision narrows as you squeeze your eyes shut. You feel a shift, as if some connection has broken. It's almost impossible to describe, like you're floating away from your body, dispersing, dissolving. There's nothing familiar in the pain, nothing to hold on to. You grit your teeth, and then another shift comes and you're back in your body, trembling against the metal wall of the passage. The pain slowly fades, becoming a pulsing throb, and then a residual flicker. You flex in 0G, stretching out the tension. There's a strange sensation of distance that persists beyond the pain. A disconnection between your body and yourself. A flickering numbness that refuses to recede. You wonder if the reboot has done something to your body, or if this is some new sensation you'll have to live with indefinitely. It strikes you that you know so little about the body that houses you. It could be moments away from collapse, or it might persevere for countless cycles like this. You try to shake off the feeling, pushing your hands against each other until they feel like they are yours again. Time is the only thing you need, and right now, it feels like it's running out fast. You head for the airlock. You have work to do. You've unlocked a contract. Open the map screen to view it. Karsten, supply, map screen. So that would be here. Contracts are high-risk, high-reward jobs that you and your crew can take on. Contracts require preparation and care to succeed. You'll need to gather enough fuel, gather as many supplies as you can afford to keep you and your crew going, look for opportunities to recruit crew temporarily or permanently, consider which crew to take carefully with different skills and stress resistances, and who you choose can affect the story. Once you're ready, select the contract from the map, your crew, and proceed. Okay. So to get to the Solheim, we need 3 fuel. So let's go back. We've got 1 dice roll left. Now I think where I was in the trade hall. Sorry, not the trade hall. Where were those guys? The Spacer trading market. Is this just open because of what I did previously? I thought I had completed something there. Let's check out the contract board. Station management have located a Conway signal, concerned to see one so close, and are looking for someone to disable its source. Okay, you get 200 cryo for doing it, and it's an open contract for the Hexport administration. Requires a fee to be paid to receive the coordinates, 10 cryo. I am still starving, so I want food. But we also need money to buy food. I'll use my last 10 cryo, everything I have, to unlock this. You paid the fee. You need to complete the job. Hexport will pay on your return. Okay. Leave. Map. So now I have a new contract here But I need more fuel. Okay. Let's go back to the rig. And if I can tell Seraphine to scavenge fuel, we'll get a bit more fuel on the next cycle. And then be able to do the job. So end the cycle. I'm going to get stressed because I don't... Wait, shipboard kitchen. I have a kitchen on here. Make a meal with one supply. There we go. That's how you eat. Beautiful. All my energy's back up. And stress gone. Okay, in that case, let me use my final dice roll for this cycle. What do I have here? Back at cast and supply, something else. Delivering the data core or paying the 400, okay. There's a new bar here called The Bends. A chaotic dockside bar. Play Star and Stoker. A spacer gambling game played with custom magnetic dice. Chits are stashed in symbol-marked cans, and winning is ruthlessly luck-based. Or buy a Ben's Fry, a plastic bag of flash-fried salt-flecked tubers. The Ben's Fry brings spacers back to the scattered tables of the bar, cycle after cycle. So if I roll a 1 on playing gambling, that's probably terrible, but let's do it. Lost 4 cryo. You barely have a chance to bet your chits between the rolls and you lose the game. I didn't have any cryo, so joke's on you. Let's go back to the rig and end today's cycle. So I'm a sleeper and my body is slowly failing, and the real me wants to wake up, which it feels something like Severance meets Blade Runner is the kind of vibe that I'm getting from this, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I love stuff that feels like it's simulating tabletop. As someone that doesn't get to play tabletop games and has only ever played like one tabletop style thing online before, I always appreciate games that do it for those of us that don't have a group of friends to play it with or have never had the opportunity through life, so I enjoy games like this. Shout out to Disco Elysium as well, if you want like the ultimate kind of dice rolling game, which doesn't feel tabletop. It's a story game with dice rolls more so, but it's an amazing, amazing RPG. When your dice rolled at the start of the cycle, your stress dictates if you take damage or not. Higher stress means a higher chance of damage. The white markers above the stress bar tell you which numbers will damage your dice when rolled. Each dice has 3 dice health. When this is depleted, the dice breaks and must be repaired. So I have damage to a couple of my dice now. We'll keep an eye on that. Reduce stress at rig bunks. I have 2 stress. Did you get fuel? You did. We've got 4 of 5 fuel now. And 2 supplies. Let's go to the map. I think we go do this Conway signal. Travel to contract. We'll take Seraphine. Junie's locked and not available. And let's do our first mission. It's a drone. Seraphine spots the signal source first, the light barely shimmering off its dark hull plating, a design trait that betrays its covert use. A flash catches your attention. You see a rent in the hull, through which red lights pulse. Wounded, Seraphine shakes his head. Wish they'd finished the job. You've seen one before? Seraphine looks back over his shoulder towards you. We've seen one before. Don't you? He sighs. Sorry. I know it isn't your fault. He looks at the drone. Lane had us work on one in a Darkside Bay, though it was barely a shell. Disarmed and deactivated. He had us searching through its guts for salvage. Even that one gave me the creeps, and it had its core ripped out. He pushes the ship closer. This one's still alive. Seraphine carefully guides the ship closer. You watch the drone. Systems full of these things now, running missions for their operators. Rare to see one out in the belt, though. Maybe got hit during a run-in with Senate Stat Mercs. Looks like it's drifting. Most of the system's blown out. Look, there. He jabs a finger towards a red light on the far side of the drone. It's still broadcasting, and maybe even receiving. Can it attack us? Unlikely, Seraphine smiles. Would have blasted us already if it could. You try not to dwell on the thought. Seraphine brings you ever closer. What I remember from the dark side job is that the central core and the broadcast array need to be shut off to kill these things. Core will turn off local systems, broadcast array will sever the link with the Conway operators. Seraphine swallows. But you can bet those systems are protected. Let Seraphine explain. Your attention is suddenly drawn by a shudder from the drone, like a tremor running along its length. This thing is rigged to blow, Sleeper. He frowns. We go slow and careful, and we don't touch anything we don't know about. You nod along automatically, slow and careful. Seraphine brings the rig to a stop, close enough for you to cross through open space to reach the drone's hull. Let's suit up. You head down to the airlock to prepare. As you get suited up, you think of the corporate war taking place in the inner system, the war that this drone was driven from. Out here, on the shore of the conflict, the biggest danger is this flotsam and jetsam drifting in with the tides and orbits of the system might, one cycle, bring the war with it. For now, the belt is outside of its reach, but looking out at the red pulsing drone, that doesn't give you much comfort. Welcome to your first contract. While on a contract, you'll be able to assign 2 dice for each crew member as you would assign your own dice. Pay attention to the crew's skills to use them effectively. On certain outcomes, crew will take crew stress. When their stress is full, you're no longer able to use them to perform actions. While on a contract, your energy bar will automatically be supplied for each cycle that you have available supplies. When your supplies are depleted, both you and your crew take 1 stress per cycle. Contracts will have their own contract stress. When this bar is filled, the contract will fail. Good luck. Okay. So here we are. This one is flashing, so we'll start here with the exposed drone interior. We can identify the route. Possible to slip through the gap in the drone's damaged hull, but once inside, where to go? We can create an opening, a gap where the drone sustained some damage. With a lot of effort, it might be possible to pry away the plates and create an entry point. I will identify the route. It's a 50-50 with a 2 roll. I have a 4, a 2, a 1, a 5, and a 2. So I want to try and, if we can, I'm going to assume this is going to get progressively more difficult. I would quite like to save my decent rolls. Let's see if we can play it risky. Drone stress. The inside of the drone is a rectangle of pipes. On entry, it pulses an alert around you. Okay. That was not good. If I get 4 stresses, it looks like the mission fails. I'll use a 4. Oh. The yellow cabling is part of the broadcast system. Following it may be the key. Okay. Let's now try to create an opening. I'll try a 2 again. Endure skill missing. I think you have the skill. Let's use one of your dices. So we use Seraphine to create an opening. Success. The drone's dark hull plates give under pressure. An opening starts to take shape. I feel that Seraphim is kind of meant to sound like seraphim, right? Like an angel. Would be my guess for their name. Let's use your other 4 on there and try and create this opening then. The plates give under pressure and it starts to take shape. Broadcast, getting some pluses and stuff here. Let's just back out for a second and see what else is opening up as we go to the excess hatch. We can release the hatch or reprogram the hatch. Now, is that a skill I don't have? It is a skill I don't have. Ah, so it's for the different skills. So one of these is for an engineer and one of them is for something else, interfacing, but we don't have any. So I guess we just continue on with where we're at in trying to create an opening and identifying the route. But if I rolled a 5 here, I don't have the skill I need. But if I roll so it moves my dice from a 5 to a 3. So I could still make the roll if I wanted to on a 3. And we've got 2 supplies, so we don't have too many cycles to run. I'm going to do that. Yes, success. While on a contract, use your push ability to give you an edge. Pushing accrues 1 stress, but will give a key advantage based on chosen class. See your current push configuration if you hold your mouse over the button on the character screen. Push can be upgraded. Okay. Can't remember how to get to the character screen. Maybe I leave here. My operator. There we go. Right. It says it cannot be changed right now. Well, I've used all of Seraphim's dice rolls. Do I risk another 2 and identify route on my end? 50-50. Failed. Damn it. Now we're halfway to failure. Okay. Let's go back to the rig and end the cycle. So we're still on the mission. We go back to our ship. We take a new turn. Seraphim has annoyingly rolled a 2 and a 1. That's not great, but I have some decent dice. Perhaps I should use my dice on finding a route. Let's use the 4. We've failed this too many times. Okay, we're at halfway. We got a bit of stress, but we got broadcast access plus. We're trying to fill this up. I have a 25% failure chance. Now you with your skill, if you're over here, is a 50-50 on your best dice roll, so I think we continue with rolling my 3s. And hope for the best. That's a fail. Oh man, if this blows up, like, do I get to go again? Is this game, like, saved? Time since last autosave. I don't know. We have no choice but to roll again. Oh. It went wrong. We failed 4 times. The dark surface of the drone shudders beneath you. Red light flashes across it, pulsing out from the torn holes on its skin. You look around and see Seraphim silhouetted against the rig, already clear of the drone. He glances back at you, and you realize you are in trouble. You don't have a choice. Leap for the rig. 25% chance of failure. Positive outcome. Without thinking, you kick hard off the drone's hull, sending yourself arcing wildly towards the upper part of the rig. As you do, you feel a pulse of energy pass over you, sending a shiver through your body. You're distant enough not to feel the effects, but as you glance back, you see arcs of energy shimmer across the dark hull. That was close. You catch yourself on top of the rig and start working your way down towards the outer airlock. Seraphin is waiting for you at the airlock. He guides you in with care and cycles the system. Not the best way to do it. Seraphin shoots you a glance. But at least we killed the damn thing. You look out the airlock window at the drone, its hull coming away, spilling its complex insides into the void. Insides. You rub your arm, feeling flashes of pain. Not the easiest way to complete a contract, but it's done. Oh, we still succeeded? Oh, phew. I thought I wasn't going to get paid. Forget dying. We got 0 monies. Contract is concluded. Leave via the map. Ah, there's my push button. +1 stress, re-roll the 1 lowest dice. Ah. Okay, well, we did it without that. Mission complete. Wow, that actually had me holding my breath. After docking at Hexport, Seraphin lets go of the controls and leans back in his chair. Feels good to make a contract work, no matter how we pull it off. I agree. It's hard not to agree, and it feels better when the Hexport courier comes with a lockbox for the chits. Lane may still be hunting you, but this should help the effort to slip his net. So now we have 200. I mean, that's halfway to paying him without doing the job, but honestly, I want the adventure of doing the hard job for Karsken, whatever his name is. Karsten. So, I think we'll still do it. We're still going to do the job. Really enjoying this so far. Okay, let's go to the trade hall. So if I give you 15, you'll fill my fuel up. So we've now got full fuel. And let's also use 60 to fill our supplies. And I've still got 125 left. And I've got some okay dice for this turn. So we'll do some exploring too. Let's go. What's this? Material processing. For making money, I guess. Sell raw scrap. Yes, this is work. We want to hustle up some crew, I think, for this mission. So I would think the Benz is just a shop. Like, yeah, it doesn't have something to unlock. I mean, maybe you meet someone playing, but let's go to the canteen. That's a more likely route, I think. Oh no, that's just eat. Where am I going to meet people? Maybe exploring the docks, chatting to crews. Let's do that. I'll use a 3. You join a few spaces resting in the docks, pick up a few local tips. Let's use a 1 for a 50-50 and see if we can complete. Okay. Spotting you asleep, a crew shouts across the docks. You give them a wide berth. Let's use the other one. Okay. We finished it, but we did lose energy from a negative outcome. As you're gliding across the docking concourse, you hear a scuffle. The noise of raised voices cuts through the conversation, drifting out of the dockside shops. Glancing down an alley, you see a huddle of figures shouting back and forth. You spot one man in the middle of the group, surrounded, pushing the others back as they grab at the bag slung over his shoulder. You don't like the way this looks, but then again, Seraphin told you to keep your head down. Cause a distraction is the skill that I have, so it's only a 25%. Neutral outcome check passed. You look around for something that could break up the fight, and you see the thick cooling pipes running down the alley wall. You quickly try to understand the system and choose a valve to start spinning. As you do, the system begins to vent in sequence down the alley, violent jets randomly bursting into the air. There's a scramble in the alley, and you spot the figure who was being attacked drop down to the alley floor. Then your vision instantly fills with pale liquid as a jet of coolant jumps out nearby, missing you, but sending you spinning in 0G. After a few moments, you manage to steady yourself. As you do, you see a clear alley, the assailants having fled with one figure gliding towards you. I suppose you think that was clever. The man gives you a severe look. You like to break up fights you didn't start? He laughs. Belt's gonna eat you up. He shifts the large bags on his shoulder, weightless but unwieldy in 0G. How about some thanks? The man's eyebrows shoot up. You think I needed you back there? He tuts. You're the weirdest one I've met, that's for sure. You watch the man go, and after a moment he stops and turns back. He rubs his forehead, looking down as he does. What's your deal anyway? He sighs. Maybe you're new here, but Hexport's no place for do-gooders. You needed help. The man smiles. I don't think so. He shakes his head. Bunch of cowards. Idiots, too, getting beat up over some scrap. Look, let's not hang around, all right? The man pats his chest. I'm Femi. He unshoulders one of the bags and pushes it towards you. Make yourself useful. Let's head. Oh, you get the strap of the bag over your shoulder and follow him through the docks, gliding past the concourse towards the connecting bridges. He cuts down a side passage, looking back to check you're following. Then he stops at a docking bridge connecting to a dull green ship with yellow markings. You look out the viewing window at its odd catamaran-like shape, seemingly built from two separate hulls welded together. Symbol crash, he says, and you assume that's the ship's name. Femi, you bringing in strays? A young woman, brightly dressed and stretching as she glides, drifts into the passage. She glances at you. No offense. Nia. Femi shakes his head. This one, he squeezes your shoulder. Helped me fend off some Hexport scum while you were busy sunning yourself. Nia raises an eyebrow. I'm sure you could handle them, big brother. Her glib response hides the flash of concern that passes across her face. You can't tell if Femi noticed. Nia turns to you. Thanks, she smiles sweetly. And I'm sorry for my brother. She shoots him a glance. Just in general. Nia, Femi murmurs. Enough now. He reaches over and takes the bag you were carrying. Nia rolls her eyes at you but stays silent. Factory Row wouldn't take these. Femi hefts the bags. I'm gonna load them back up. Maybe we'll find a use for them. He turns back to you. Thanks for the assist, Sleeper. He nods firmly. Not what I expected. He slaps the button for the bridge door and kicks off along the docking bridge on his way to the symbol crash. Nia looks at you with raised eyebrows. I hope my brother was joking, or did you really help him? It was nothing. Humble and a hero, she laughs. Thank you. She looks back at the ship. My brother needs more help than he admits. What do you mean? She tenses. I don't know if... She smiles a tight smile. I shouldn't have said anything. She pauses, thinking. I want to ask you something. She takes a deep breath and gives you a direct look. What is she building up to? Are you looking for crew? She looks away. Sorry to be direct, but you seem... Well, if you're on Hexport, maybe you're with a crew? She stops herself. I mean, maybe your crew needs a crew? Maybe you're looking... I am. She struggles to hide her smile. Nia looks back at the ship, then at you. Look, I'll be honest, being on a crew with my brother is nice, but he's suffocating me. She frowns at her own bluntness. I'm not a kid anymore, you know, but he still sees me like one. She shrugs. I want to show him I can handle myself. I need experience. I need to run some contracts. She gives you a determined look. What do you say? Shouldn't I ask your brother? That is exactly the point. She shakes her head. No, you should not have to ask my brother. Her eyes flare with anger. She catches herself. Sorry. She pauses. I'm a good salvager, alright? You can use me. She smiles. I can spot things, find gaps, ways in. She folds her arms across her chest. I know what I'm doing. Femi taught me well. She glances back at the ship. Just consider it, alright? Let me prove myself. Suddenly a shout comes from the ship, echoing down the passage. Femi. He makes both of you nervous. Nia looks in his direction. I should go. She pushes off towards the docking bridge. I'll be waiting. It could also be Nia. Nia. Let's go with Nia. Nia gives you one last glance as she departs, then disappears into the docking bridge, leaving you alone in the passage. Okay, new crew that we can recruit if we want. Nice. Very nice, very nice. We have the warehouses now. Freight loading. Warehouses at Hexport docks supply the industrial operations of the station, needing constant loading and restocking. It looks like this is for money. So when you've got a little chit symbol, I think it's a shop or something, and then others are perhaps different. So how do I say yes and recruit her? What's on the contract board? Nothing. So, like, where they were seems to have disappeared. There's nothing in the trade hall because we're full. The canteen is just for eating. I guess I'll fill up since we're flush with cash right now. That is just money, and cast and supply is that. So let's go back to the rig. I'm curious how I recruit her. We'll set Seraphine to do odd jobs. I mean, it's I guess I should use my... I saved my heavy dice rolls. So let's use them to at least earn some money, I suppose. Let's gamble with them. 100% if I use a 6. Let's do that. Oh, I don't know. What would I make more money doing? I see. So I'm missing the skill for this area to earn money. Swift scrap, can I earn money here? I can sell raw scrap. Scrapyards have paid data diffusal work to offer. Old techs tends to be laced with protocols. 50-50 because I don't have the interface skill. So I can't really do any of these either. So actually my way of earning with odd jobs, I think, as my character that is cerebral, is actually to go gambling as an intuit skill. I'll roll a 4. Success 9 cryo? What is the point? I mean, I'll use the 6 because I don't know what else I'm going to do with it. 9 cryo. What a waste of time. What a waste of a dice roll. You'd have to be pretty desperate to do that. Do I have stuff I could have done here? Okay, feed lines are waiting for the engine. Oh, I could have rolled in the bunk and reduced my stress. Never mind. Now I know that the gambling's pointless. Let's end the cycle. Wow, time has flown by playing this. Absolutely loving it. Let me know if you're enjoying it in a comment, of course. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do take the time to do that. If you are not laying down listening to this, not to bother you, but that would be great. Lets YouTube know you want to see more of my videos, and of course, if you like me reading to you, there is Down to Sleep, my podcast of bedtime stories. You can listen to the free version on Spotify and everywhere you get podcasts. There are more on YouTube channels as well. And you can join Patreon, where I can read the books that I can't share on YouTube, like The Lord of the Rings. What else is on there? Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Coraline, a bunch of exclusives. Howl's Moving Castle is a good one. But on YouTube, you can listen to stuff like Pride and Prejudice, A Christmas Carol, Grimm fairy tales, old fairy tales, Snow White, all kinds of stuff. And Twilight's available on YouTube as well, on Down to Sleep Extra. You can hear me read the first 3 books for free. So, Down to Sleep. Thank you. Just a little promo, since we're doing so much reading on this one. And if you're enjoying it, there's more to be had. Right, we ended the cycle. We've got some great dice for our next go-around. Let me look at the Explore. Like, I want to recruit Naya. Why is it not working? Why is there no location where I can recruit her? Is it on the map? Nope. Just to the Solheim to get those cores. I mean, I'd like to take Naya with us. But I can't see her anywhere. Like, is there somewhere I'm supposed to click to call her? I've checked all the locations and there's nothing there. Maybe she'll come back in the future. Let's go do this job. Let's go. Okay. So I have to take Junie with me for this one. The Solheim derelict fills the cockpit windows, all twisted plates and skeletal strutwork. You watched it in horror and fascination as Seraphin completed the approach, both of you silent in the presence of this decaying beast. Now, as you settle beside it, Seraphin is the first to break the silence. This thing's already dead. He shakes his head. It's a corpse, Sleeper. He nudges the ship closer, looking for a place to dock. I touch this thing too hard, it'll crumble to dust. Let's not do that. Seraphin does a little mock salute. Aye, aye. He rolls his eyes. Any other tips? Take us up there. That's the bridge. Junie points towards one end of the ship, and both you and Seraphin turn around, having forgotten she was even in the cockpit. She hasn't said a word since you departed. She glances at both of your bemused faces. What? She looks away. Sorry, that's where we need to go. She stops pointing. Seraphin nods towards Junie. She's not wrong, Sleeper. The bridge would be a good start. To the bridge, then. Let's do it. Seraphin takes control of the ship, avoiding the debris field closer to the center of the wreck. He settles in position near a protrusion at the far end. This is as far as I'll go. Seraphin taps at the anchoring controls. We should be able to anchor the ship to those plates. You hear Junie begin to protest from behind you, but it's too late. Seraphin fires 2 piton-tipped anchor lines at the nearest solid hull plates. The pitons slam into the plates, and despite their solid appearance, they instantly shatter. The fragments spin out across the wreck, slicing into other plates and building a spiraling storm of debris. Shit. Seraphin nudges the ship back and steadies it as the debris cascades across the surface of the wreck. The damage seems mostly superficial, but it underlines just how fragile the derelict is. Let's not do that again. Junie glances between the two of you. The data core will be very fragile. We've got it, Seraphin snaps. He angrily unclips from his seat. Last thing I need is a backseat driver. He kicks off and glides past her into the corridor. Sorry, Junie. No problem. She smiles a weak smile. We all want the same thing here, right? We'll work it out. You follow Seraphin down the passage with Junie close behind. As you reach the airlock, he's already angrily suiting up, his frustration evident. Keep your cool. Seraphin looks up. Yeah. He glances at Junie. No hard feelings, right? He checks the seals on his shoulders. This is a job, not a social event. The rest of the preparation process takes place in tense silence, each of you considering the delicate job ahead. You suit up too. Though you don't need a helmet to breathe, you slide one on and lock the seals for protection. This wreck isn't going to give up its salvage easily. The core should be near the bridge, maybe even inside it. But there's a lot of wreck here. There might be good salvage tucked away in the cargo hold. Once the suits are on and the seals are checked, you cycle the lock and stare out at the vast expanse of the twisted hulk before you. Time to go to work. Okay, we have our next mission. Derelict stress is already up by 2 points. A still decaying ruin. Quite a few points with some events that seem to unlock and occur as we go through it. And 2 points of cool. The corroded airlock and the depressurized bay. We have clear cargo doors. Find access point for cargo entry. And for the bridge, the airlock, lock dissection will take longer, but cutting away the lock layer by layer is the safest way to make it through. That's for an engineer, which we don't have. Or for an engage, which is Seraphin. Forget being delicate, the clock is running, force the lock, the easiest way to gain entry. For now, I'm going to try and open the bay, because that is my role as an intuit. An intuit getting into it. Behind one layer of hull plates is a series of collapsed passages. One of these might prove useful. Roll a 3. Success. Roll a 3. Success. Do I roll a 2 and risk it with a 50-50? I don't know. Maybe we're going to have to cycle anyway, right? Let's go to the airlock. Now, Seraphin's rolls are pretty bad. He's giving us a 50-50 at best on trying to force the lock for one turn. I wonder if Junie, what you could do. Could you do this? You'd have a 25% on that. Since you've got a 6. And it's actually the only thing you're quite good for right now. I'm going to roll my 2 and see if I can get us in there. Come on. The fractured hull reveals nothing but dead ends. Okay, that was one stress fail. I'm going to use my other one as well. Oh, damn it. No, I didn't get it. Right, use your 6. That also failed. Wow. Okay. Then we have to cycle. I think. We have the supplies to take our time with this one. It's a big job. Okay, he's got some good rolls this time, and so have I. Let's go back to here. I'll use one of my 3s. 25% chance. You found a passage into the cargo bay. Getting into the cargo entry means breaking through the shattered remains of the hull. Okay. So we succeeded at that, but there's no continue. We've just found an access point. But I also have to clear the cargo doors. We don't have an engineer, so I don't think we can even do it. Ah, new location discovered. There we go. Countless vast bays extend from here, deep into the derelict. Scanning and mapping each one will allow you to navigate them safely. Scrap survey. Interface, which is what Junie does. Fail. Use your 4. Pass. Through some careful triangulation, a 3D map of layers of the bay is slowly built piece by piece. That took us halfway. If I use a 4, what happens? It becomes a 50-50. If I use a 6, 100. Let's just use his dice rolls and see what's happening here first. Force the lock. 50-50 with a 5. Pass. Gave us 2 bars. We need a lot more. Try your 4. Fail. The contract stress has triggered a crisis. A crisis will add 1 contract stress per cycle, unless resolved at the crisis location. 1 crisis active. Okay. What's the crisis? There it is. Hull breach. Emergency seal. The derelict's hull's falling apart. If this breach isn't sealed and fast, the entire wreck will collapse. I'll use my rolls on it. Because we don't have an engineer, it's being hard on us and reducing us to 50-50 chances. So we have to hope for the best. Fail. Pass. Fail. Right. Used all our dice. End the cycle. Oh boy. It honestly might have been better just to leave that running. Explore. Junie, let's see if you can get this bay mapped. Okay, one more. Done. The bays are mapped. It seems that deep parts of this ship are in surprisingly good condition. Which takes us to the deep bays of extracting raw scrap. Deep inside the derelict, masses of intact scrap, valuable material, but it's also what's holding the ship together. Okay. So that's what that has unlocked. Let me see if I can fix this breach. First, let's have Seraphine continue to open the lock. Wow, more stress. Right, use the 6. Oh, it needs one more. Use my 6 on it. The lock is open. Time to move in. The bridge of the derelict lies silent. The pale beams of your suit lamps catch rows of terminals and clouds of glittering dust. Wires wave like seaweed, and the whole scene appears as if underwater. Chaotic, but still. Junie glides past you, disturbing the dust and taking you by surprise as she does. She's been a stoic presence so far, but in this moment she seems drawn forward by some force of curiosity. You watch as she bats away debris and begins checking terminals. See, I think she has snuck her way onto here for something else. Let's ask her what she's doing. Junie doesn't seem to hear you, or at least is ignoring you. She's already prying an access panel off one of the more intact-looking terminals, and as she does, puffs of rust color the vacuum around her red. As she does, puffs of rust color the vacuum around her red. Okay, I get it. Approach her. She turns back to the terminal and finishes prying off the plate. Quickly, she reaches inside, fishing around for something. Her hand comes back out with a waving cable topped with a thick connector. As soon as she sees it, she slips a keyboard-sized deck out from somewhere on her person. She runs her hand across the back until she finds the right port and slots in the connector. All of this happens in a few seconds. The routine, practiced, and precise. It's hard not to be impressed. Not your first Solheim ship? She glances at you, a nervous look on her face. Does she think you're accusing her of something? She shakes her head and goes back to work. Junie's fingers dance across the deck's keyboard and a burst of static lights up the Solheim's terminal screen. The sudden burst of light and color takes you by surprise. Junie's fingers tap away, the terminal screen flashing with blocks of color and lines of code. It buzzes and vibrates, its long-dead systems forced back into chaotic life. Then, all at once, it goes dark. The terminal is dead. Shit, Junie hisses beneath her breath. Useless. You cannot tell if the insult is directed at the terminal or herself. What are you doing? She looks up at you as if she was just waking from a dream. Looking for something useful. She pauses. Useful for the contract, that is. She glances down. A map of the ship. Plans, you know? The cradle with the data core can't be far. She pushes off from the terminal, gliding away from you. I'll start looking, she calls back, and heads to the other side of the bridge. Seraphine glides up beside you. Everything alright? What do you think of Junie? The kid? Seraphine shrugs. You'd know better than me. Keeps to herself. He squints at her retreating form. Seraphine stretches in his suit. I have to admit, it's nice to be back working, especially now that we're the ones who'll reap the benefits. He claps you on the shoulder. Feels good to be taking our fate into our own hands. I know it's pretty rough there, back on Hexport. And out here we're just as likely to get shredded by debris as find the damn data core, but aren't you glad we made a break for it? He pauses and looks down, having asked the question almost by accident. I mean, I am. I just don't want to speak for you. I'm glad. Seraphine smiles. You better be. I didn't give up that little dark side cupboard I was living in for nothing. He laughs at his own joke. Look, Seraphine checks his suit's wrist seals. Once we've got a bit of space behind us, once we've gone the distance, if we even manage to get that far, he furrows his brow. Don't feel you owe me. I'm no charity case. You want us to go our separate ways, fine by me. He meets your eyes. Just do me the favor of telling me to my face. I will. Seraphine nods, but doesn't respond. After a moment, he shines his torch out into the dark, checking the rows of terminals all along the bridge. You watch the glittering dust as it eddies in the beam. Seraphine sighs. Let's get to it. You watch as he crosses the bridge, his torch probing the dark corners. You feel a chill run through your body as you imagine the people that once ran this ship. The Solheim crew, surely long dead. What was it like here before the collapse, when this system was the jewel in Solheim's crown? It's impossible to know. That history is lost to you now. All you can do is pick what you can from the ruins. Okay, a new location has been discovered. The derelict bridge. Let's see what happens if we get some of this scrap, though. I'll use one of my 4s. It's a 50-50. I'm going to give it a go. No, I'm not, because that could result in badness. Let's go into here. We have reboot the system, which is interface, which is Junie. And that will probably be our best route forward, as the other one is an endure. If I do a 4 on that, it becomes a 50-50. Let me see if I can seal this breach. really wish we had an engineer here, but... that's a fail. That's a fail. Okay, 2 fails, wonderful. Damaged dice and stressed out beyond belief. Let's go back to the rig. Action unavailable. Cannot recover stress while on a contract. Ah. Okay, so all we can do is sleep. Alright, one of your dice is broken due to losing its health. Broken dice can be repaired at the rig for a cost once the workshop is available. Oh boy. And we got some pretty bad numbers on Junie, who is halfway stressed out herself. It's not looking great. And we have a new crisis location. Oh. And that one is interface, but we need to use the interface dice to try to get through here. Okay. Let's use Junie. Fail. Wow. She's 1 stress away from getting locked out of this mission. So I'm not going to roll her 1. This is not good. We have 2 crises active, which means if I don't deal with those on my next sleep, like I'll have 2 more turns because we'll trigger another crisis and then there'll be 3 on the next turn and that would be the end of it. I only have supplies for 2 as it is. I don't know if we just power through or if we try to clear those. How close was I to at least clearing that one? Halfway. I'll use a 4. Oh my gosh. Failed. This, I mean, what is the luck here, honestly? Okay. Because we don't have an engineer. Oh my god, it's like 1 for each. I need to, like, roll correctly so many times. Okay. We dealt with one of the crises. Now, it's probably not a good idea for us to roll our 1s on here. So we'll end the cycle. I mean, it is my first time playing. It's not going to be perfect. And I lost another dice. That's pretty bad. If you think about it, I probably tried to do too much by also getting into the cargo hold, and I should have focused all of my efforts on this. But now we're here. Let's see if we can reboot the system. That gave us 1 point. Are you serious? That gave us 3. Just gonna have to try to get through, really, aren't we? Not much else we can do. That's a fail. It's a fail. I'm gonna have to try for Junie's 2. Fail, and she's locked out. I mean, can we just stop failing, please? We only have supplies for 1 more go, so I don't even know if this is possible now. Are we able to leave? and come back another time? You cannot leave a contract in progress. Oh no. We're in trouble. I guess we'll find out what happens. There is a horrifying lurch, your sense spinning through the bay you were crossing in a hail of debris. You watch as the side of the bay silently tears open in front of you, a gaping black maw toothed with flying debris. You stare into it, your breath heavy in your ears, your eyes wide. Suddenly you feel a tug on your back, your tether. As you spin back from the sudden arrest of your glide, you see Seraphim holding on to the other end, reeling you towards him. "We have to go, Sleeper." His voice comes urgently over the comms channel. "This place is done." You both make your way up through the splitting derelict in silence, charting a path through what were once passages but are now twisted tubes like the intestinal tract of some dead creature. Eventually you make it out onto the surface and find the rig still tethered, but gashed with debris and scars. You and Seraphim exchange concerned glances. "We're gonna pay for this." He looks over the damage. "Let's hope she still flies." You tether together and push off from the hull, Seraphim guiding you through the debris. Below you, the derelict is exploding in slow motion, tearing apart into a swarm of razor-edged shards. "All this and no core," Seraphim fumes. "Now the rig's torn up too." You don't have much to offer in answer. He's right. It seems the job was a disaster. You just hope it isn't terminal. "It's gone." Junie's voice comes faintly through over the comms. She must already be on the ship. "The whole ship's falling apart." "No shit," Seraphim answers back. "Contract's a bust." "What a waste," Junie says quietly, and the channel clicks off. You arrive at the rig's airlock and bundle yourself inside. Noticing the exterior damage, it looks mostly superficial, but it would no doubt take its toll on the ship. Once you're back in the cockpit, you look out at the derelict's shattered form. It seems you will be its last visitors. It started as a creeping dullness, something that drew you further from the world, cycle by cycle. But now in this moment of waking, it is a shifting pain. It jumps across your body faster than you can follow, and you jerk against it. As you do, a numbness starts to spread across your skin as if you were sinking into cold water. The pain dances across this numbness, as if it was skimming on its surface, but then as you submerge it becomes distant, and you realize you are leaving this body, your frame. Suddenly something pulses inside you, some system you've never felt before. As it does, you feel yourself external to your frame, remaining on the surface. You don't feel your limbs or your organs. You barely have your thoughts. You are a pulsing point, a compressed self, flickering out. You see figures, unrecognizable shadows gathering around you. You feel the tug of a single thread, binding you to your frame, keeping you from floating away. At the end of that thread, something pulses and glows and rebuilds itself in a new and more unstable form. Your frame will recover, but it will be changed this cycle. It will bear the weight of keeping you alive. It will break some part of itself, of yourself, so you may persist. You watch as it does and anticipate waking into this newly distorted self. And then you are awake, somehow together, somehow apart, in pain and a little more broken than before, not knowing if your survival is a miracle or a burden. You gained a permanent glitch. A permanent glitch is represented in red on your glitch clock and will not be expended when rolling a glitched dice. You now have a chance of rolling a glitched dice every cycle. This cannot be fixed. Oh. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to use my push. That was a mistake. I was trying to click the map. Well, we have failed the mission. As you arrive into Hexport, Junie speaks up from the back of the cockpit. I need to speak to both of you. On the journey back, you noticed a change in Junie, a hardening, and now she seems very different from the nervous hacker you first brought with you. I know we failed to extract the core, but I wanted to be honest with you about why I came to you. I don't work for Karsten. Perhaps that was obvious, and I didn't want to bring him in the core. You and Seraphine exchanged glances. You would have taken it? She looks away. I don't know, Sleeper. Yes, perhaps I would have, but I also would have spoken to you, explained myself. Do you know how many of those cores are left intact? Junie suddenly looks gripped by emotion. Like it or not, we live in Solheim's shadow, in their ruins, and yet we know almost nothing. What chance do we have of understanding how we got here and when others like them, like Senatstadt and Conway, are descending on this system? This station and most of the other habitats of the belt are built on a Solheim foundation, yet we're too busy scavenging them to take the time to look for answers. Men like Karsten want nothing but the raw materials of cores like the one we lost. We can do better. We could learn our history, how this system was settled. We could better learn the technology we build our lives on. We could uncover Solheim's crimes and seek to make amends. She meets your eye. We could see beyond survival, towards something else. You've never heard Junie speak like this, and you realize what you have taken for nervousness was actually control. This, the person in front of you mourning a data core, is the real Junie. Not that it matters, she glances away. It's all lost now. Keep your honesty, Seraphine cuts in. It's worthless to us. He completes the landing protocols and begins shutting the rig's engines off. We don't have time for confessions. Junie looks crestfallen. Karsten won't come for you if that's what you're worried about. He's ignorant and stubborn, but he isn't vengeful. That is not what we're worried about. Seraphine gives her a pointed look. Let's explain it to her. You tell Junie about the feed lines Karsten has, about you and Seraphine fleeing something, and that you can't run any further without them. Junie nods along, her eyes darting back and forth as if trying to calculate something in her mind. Seraphine turns to you. If you have any bright ideas on how to get those feed lines, now would be the time, Sleeper. There's another way, Junie interrupts. I could help you steal the feed lines. She stares at both of you with determination. We could do it together. Seraphine looks at you with raised eyebrows. It seems he is noticing the change in Junie too. Karsten's an idiot. I can hack his security and you can pull them out of there. She looks at Seraphine. You seem tough, she shrugs. We can do it. Seriously? Junie gives you the kind of withering expression you wouldn't have thought her capable of several cycles ago. Seriously. Junie looks between the two of you. Hexport hasn't exactly been kind to me. You two trusted me, even though I didn't deserve it. I'm not used to that. I want to repay it. Not to mention that Karsten's probably ripping you off. Even if you get enough cryo, what's to say he won't raise the price? Trust me, he's no good. I was trying to deal with Karsten to get those derelict coordinates from the moment I arrived here. He ran me in circles. Seraphine is watching her closely. Even if I do take you at your word, which, given everything, seems a little tough, how do we even do this? He raises an eyebrow. You're telling me we just drift in there, take the feed lines? Look, I get it, you don't trust me, she pauses. But what if I have a vested interest in this working out? There's nothing left for me here, and I don't much feel like hanging around waiting for Karsten to figure out my involvement in all this. I need safe passage, you need the feed lines to grant it. She allows herself a smile. See where I'm going with this? Seraphine sighs. I don't like it. He pauses. But it makes sense. What do you think, Sleeper? I like it. Alright then, Junie smiles. Let me prepare. I'll head to Factory Row, scope the place out. Meet me there, we can work out a plan. She glances between the two of you. Trust me, we can find a way. We'll keep it simple, clean. Let's do it. Trust me, it's gonna work. I'll go scope out... Sorry, choked. I'll go scope out the bay we need in Factory Row. We should split up. Less likely for Karsten to suspect us. Meet me there in a few and we can finish setting up. Junie unclips from her seat, floating. I want to show you I can be trusted. That we can do this. She looks between the two of you. Believe that, please. With that, she slips away, down the passage towards the airlock and hexport beyond. You look at Seraphin. I'm saying nothing, Sleeper. He unclips from his seat too. Either this is the kind of mess you have to go through to get out to the other side, or it's the kind you never escape. Either way, we're in it now. He leaves the cockpit. You stare at the chaotic lights of hexport and wonder if anything in the starboard belt ever runs smoothly. Damn. Wow. And because of all of those cycles past, we are, look, on the run with 3 cycles until Lane catches up with us. Oh dear. We really need to, like, heal. We've got 3 dice left. We're starving. We've got no supplies. And I don't think we can actually repair our dice yet. Let's go to the canteen. And eat. To at least get our energy back up. And to the trade hall. For some supplies. And let's get 1 fuel for 5 and make sure that he's getting fuel scavenged. And better get on with this mission if we don't have much time. Junie's unit, we need to hack the security, create a backdoor into Karsten's security system, or observe the target with engage. Let's hack security. That gives us 2 of 6. If I use my 2, it's a 25% chance of failing. Okay. Managed to do it. What's this glitch dice here? 80% chance of a negative outcome because it's a glitch dice. I guess I just have to sleep. It's gonna be tough. Can I use the glitch dice to rest? No? Okay. I think we're gonna get caught, but... Okay, I got 2 6s, that's perfect. If you're only going to have 3 dice, that's the kind of luck we need. Is he, 2 turns away? Alright. Let's, hack that security. And once more. We're in. The sound of fist on keyboard wakes you from the scrolling code on the terminal screen. You turn to see Junie, a rare half smile on her face as she floats cross-legged with her deck in her lap. The blue light on the snap screen makes her eyes glint with a glittering excitement. Got him. She shoots you a look. Karsten's whole system is mine. You push away from your terminal to glide over to her screen. Running the map protocol now. I want to know about every little dusty corner of his network. Nice work. Hold on, we aren't there yet. It's coming up now. Seems Karsten's pretty paranoid. Whole system's iced over with some serious security. She frowns. What are all these layers of... A red pulse flashes across her face, changing her features as it does. Shit. Her fingers dance across the keyboard. Something's closing the port we need. Another red flash and her screen goes blank. Junie's fist hits the keyboard again, harder. We've been kicked out. She's rapidly shaking her head. There's no way a salvager's shop should have that kind of countermeasure. She looks troubled. Maybe you peeked in the wrong corner? She looks over at you. Seems so. I think our friend Karsten's involved in some nasty stuff. She rubs her forehead in thought. Wait. Her fingers fly across the keyboard, her screen flickering with commands. A complex node graph assembles on the screen, a mess of interlocking connections. The mapping protocol did enough. She points at the screen. All the security systems are there. She indicates a dark section of broken connections. We didn't get what's here, but it seems like we found some kind of archive. Nothing we want. What's there? Some big data trolls. Looks like copies of old drives he found. Could just be a load of data left over from salvage jobs that he thinks is worth something. He's a meathead with no eye for data, so it's probably a load of debug logs that he thinks are Solheim's secrets. She giggles at the idea. Junie pulls a thumb drive out of one of her many pockets and slots it into her deck. Time to train my cat. Your cat? It's a Katzenjammer, cat for short. Basically, it takes a network map, finds the weaknesses, and when you hook it up, it blasts the network with so much network noise and raw data that it becomes unusable. She smiles to herself. Any tech connected to gets a killer headache. I built it to take remnants of Solheim security systems out of commission on old derelicts. I had one too many close calls. What will it do to Karsten's shop? Pretty much fry anything on our map. Cameras, shutter controls, alarms. It'll be chaos. She plucks the thumbnail drive out of her deck and hands it over, the cat head sticker on it catching the light as it turns in your fingers. We've still lost access, of course. Junie turns back to her screen, bringing up another node map. But there's an old Solheim port from the original facility just outside Karsten's. Slot the cat in there and it should be able to find a back door. What are we waiting for? Nothing, but she looks away. This isn't going to be quiet. She squints. His whole system's gonna get data blasted. It's not a subtle hack. When you slot the cat, you get in, grab the feed lines, and run. Sounds like one hell of a risk. Seraphin's voice catches you both by surprise as he slips into the dark and empty unit. Well, Junie pauses, looking between the two of you. It's our best option. Seraphin narrows his eyes. And what will you be while we run the gauntlet of scrambled security and make the grab? Junie looks away. I can monitor how it goes down remotely. From here, or the ship? Seraphin gives you a look. You can tell he's finding it hard to trust Junie after everything. I trust you, Junie. She smiles a thin smile. Thanks. She starts to pack up her deck. I'll find somewhere else to work from. Close to the ship, but out of your way. Junie shoulders her bag and glides to the door. When you're ready, slot the cat and go. By the time you're back at the ship, I'll be there. She glances down. Don't leave without me. She shoots Seraphin another look and slips out of the unit. Seraphin watches her go, then turns to you. Whole Hexport's gonna hear about this. You better be ready to go the moment you slot that thing. I'll be ready. I'll be at the ship preparing the engine. We need to be ready to fit the lines as fast as we possibly can. He meets your eye. Be careful. Don't stop for anyone or anything. He puts a hand on your shoulder. And don't even think about looking back. With that, he slips out of the unit, leaving you alone to consider what comes next. Well, we have to do it, don't we? And we've got to do it fast. Whilst we're fueled up and ready to go with only 2 turns left. But I'm going to need some dice. Let's see. Okay, let's sleep on the rig. And we'll have to get everything going. Before Lane gets here, with only 2 rolls and one of them being glitched. It's like I already feel like I'm so kinda ruined for this, but hopefully we can get them back somehow. Input the Katzen Gemma. Do it. You slide the worm into the corroded Solheim port. A noise from Karsten's shop immediately catches your attention. Karsten's place is locked up for the cycle, shutter down, alarms on. The denizens of Factory Row snaking past with deliveries and work orders. You hold your positions opposite the shop and take a deep breath, waiting for a sign that this is going to work. You look at the thumbnail drive with its shimmering cat sticker sticking out of the old Solheim access port. You imagine the flow of data as the Katzenjammer seeks for an entry point into Karsten's system. You think of Junie, tucked away near the ship, watching you through the public networks. You think of Seraphine, deep in the engine room of the rig. Hurry the hell up, you think. Enough waiting. Then you hear it. A pulsating white noise spluttering, and then screaming out of Karsten's shop. The shutter scissors up and down, the lights pulse, the alarm gurgles in confusion. For a moment you are stunned into stillness. People stop in the street, then turn to look, as the shutter's motors burn out in a cascade of sparks and acrid smoke. Now or never. Rush. Although my thing is... I am into it, but we're rushing. Let's get it done. Without warning, without waiting a moment longer, you kick off from the wall and glide towards the entryway, trying to slip between the gathering observers. However, you mistime your glide and crash into the back of a passerby, sending you both spinning through the passageway. You gather yourself and make a break for the entrance. You hear shouts behind you, but you don't turn. It's too late now. There's no going back. The shop is chaotic, and for a moment you are completely lost among the flickering lights and screaming white noise. The smell of smoke and burnt components hangs heavily in the air, and you spin, trying to spot the feed lines among the mess of components. You hear more shouting from outside, and feel your mind racing. What the hell are you doing? Panic sets in. Then you see them, the feed lines, piled in the window display. You scramble over, grabbing the bundle with both arms. They wave wildly in your grasp as you wrench them away and kick off from the counter, gliding back out of the shop. In the darkness of the passage, you slam into someone, and they pull at the feed lines. Without seeing them, you kick at their body and spin away, drifting down the passageway. You don't stop, bouncing from wall to wall on your way to the docks, your senses still dulled by the screaming, blinking chaos of Karsten's shop. Your arms ache from clutching the feed lines, but you don't loosen your grip until you see the entrance to the docking bridge. Sleeper, you almost ignore the call until you realize you recognize the voice. Junie glides out to meet you, her hand on your shoulder, guiding you towards the bridge. I'm with you now. She shoots you a glance. What a show, huh? She laughs nervously. You could have warned me. I did, she pauses. At least, I thought I did. You both glide down the docking bridge, Junie helping you with the trailing feed lines. From what you can tell, news of the chaos in Factory Row has not reached the port yet. You feel a flush of excitement as you enter the ship's airlock. This is it. You did it. You try to keep focused, but the elation makes your hands tremble. You take a sharp turn in the central passage of the ship and make your way to the engine room, the feed lines now unwieldy in the cramped space. Seraphine is waiting for you, shaking his head. Looks like we're in business. he lets out a sigh. And on the run from 2 different people now. He grabs the feed lines. I'll take it from here. He quickly begins the process of connecting the engine on the subsidiary fuel tank. You watch, catching your breath as he works. How about you make yourself useful rather than just making me nervous? Seraphin says without looking up from his work. Go close the airlock, disconnect the bridge. You and Junie glance at each other. Both of you, now, Seraphin calls out. The 2 of you turn and make your way up the passage, your nerves settling now. You arrive at the airlock and reach for the control panel. Then you see him. Karsten, coming up the docking bridge, fast. Close the airlock. Positive outcome. Your hands dance across the controls, inputting the closure sequence in seconds. The door hisses and closes before Karsten even makes it to the end of the bridge. You catch one glimpse of his retreating figure before the docking bridge's shutters scissor closed, blocking him from view. You hear a clunk as the clamps disengage. You are free. Seraphin rushes past, gliding up the passageway from the engine room. Come on, get yourself strapped in. You and Junie silently follow him, your head spinning, your thoughts racing. You slip into your seat as Seraphin punches in the departure sequence. The rig begins to pull away from Hexport. Seraphin's hands on the controls. You close your eyes and feel the force of the thrusters firing. You completed a drive and earned an upgrade point. You have push upgrades available. What the? Seraphin's quiet question interrupts your thoughts as the rig cuts across the belt. Hexport is now behind you, drifting out of visual range. Its glinting lights now just part of the background glow of the belt's thousands of reflective bodies. Whatever trouble you stirred up there, it has surely been left behind. Which is why Seraphin's muttering is worrying you. What's up? Seraphin turns. There's a transmission order coming out of Hexport. Some kind of evac order. He turns back to his console. Let me check this. Sleeper. The voice, as distorted as it is, cuts through you. Lane. I know you are there. A hissing pause. Stay silent. I'm getting a wide-channel broadcast. He rubs his shoulder nervously. They're warning people to alter their course away from the station. You are slipping away. A squawk of noise. But we can't have that. I take this personally, Sleeper. A sharp intake of breath. After all my investment, all my care expended upon you, this is how you repay me. At least we're heading away, Seraphin interrupts. Maybe it's just a precaution. I see a little something glinting out there, Lane continues. Could that be you? Sleeper? You hear Seraphin calling, but you don't move, you don't breathe. All you hear is Lane's voice. You unclip from your restraint, drifting forward towards Seraphin. He gives you a wild look. Something isn't right. You don't feel right. A numbness grows in your body, your fingers flexing without your input. You reach out towards Seraphin. No. Not you. Something reaches out to Seraphin through you. Attention flickers in his eyes. Fear? A hissing silence, then a rumbling blast. All at once the rig screams, systems seizing in electromagnetic paralysis. All at once the rig shifts, carried on some shockwave of light. Pain. Then darkness. Voices echo warmly through your mind. You can't quite make out what's being said. and any attempt to focus causes a growing flare of pain, so you let them fill the air, unidentifiable and soft. You are floating, and so you cannot yet feel your body or its weight. The feeling is pleasant, soothing, and yet the moment you realize this, it begins to fade. Something spasms in your fingers, and you flick it away. A sensation crosses the sole of your foot and you kick your leg. A weight settles in your chest. You are awake. You open your eyes to light playing across a surface patterned with stained cushioning. You are alone. The voice is replaced by the hum of air cycling, the distant clank of maintenance systems. You are alone, and this is not your ship. You jerk upwards, against the straps that hold you loosely to the berth, suddenly confronted with the last things you remember. An overwhelming numbness, and below it, an insipid animating force creeping through your mind. You pull at the straps and free yourself, floating up into the small habitation room, cushioned and worn, your mind racing. You surge back, and remember only Seraphine's shouts, the sudden acceleration of the rig, and then darkness. A chill runs through you. Cold light fills the room, and you float over to the dark square of the window. You see stars, the bright pinpricks of drive trails, and skeletal docking bridges. This is a station. A sudden hiss draws your attention to the door, which slides open with a puff of equalizing pressure. Then, the entering figure jumps as they see you're awake. You're up. They hesitate in the doorway. Who are you? They laugh nervously. Right, we didn't meet. They glance back out of the doorway as if looking for help. I'm Bliss, they shrug, not sure of what to add. Your crew are out, sorry. They brought you here? Here? Right, they nod slowly. This is my room? They glance around. Not much, I know. We're in my repair bay on the far spindle, if you know where that is. How did I get here? They look around at the room again. Come on, let's go somewhere a little more comfortable. They hold out a hand. You're safe. Don't worry. You follow them out into the corridor, gliding behind them. They move with the ease of someone who was either born in Zero-G or has spent most of their life in it. They guide you to an enclosed balcony, where heavily scratched thick acrylic windows look out into a chaotic-looking wet dock. At the center of the dock is the rig, scratched and worn, but still your ship. It's a reassuring sight. What happened? Your ship. Bliss pauses. You were lucky. I heard your distress signal. You sense they are holding something back. I guess that expensive long-range array I was tricked into buying finally paid off. They laugh to themselves. Well, at least for someone. You were out cold when I got there, and have been for all the cycles since. Your friend wasn't in great shape either, but he bounced back fast. I make a habit of doing that. Seraphine's voice makes you spin round. Good to see you up. He can't suppress his smile. Are you okay? He smiles. Don't start fussing over me, sleeper. I'm good. Your eyes fall to Seraphine's bandaged abdomen. He notices and pulls his jacket over the wound. It certainly looks better than when you came in. You should have seen. Bliss abruptly stops after Seraphine glares in their direction. Here, Seraphine pulls a few chits out of his pocket. Catch. He slings them over to Bliss. That's all I could get for now. Seraphine sighs. I'm fine. Bliss looks at you apologetically. I know what it looks like, but I'm sorry, I can't work for free. Keeping this place going's bad enough. I get it. Seraphine nods. We're just thankful you towed us in. We aren't freeloaders. Bliss looks between the two of you. I'll let you two catch up. They turn to you. I'm glad you're awake. We were worried. They pat you on the shoulder and glide back down the corridor. With Bliss gone, silence descends on you and Seraphine, both of you unsure what to say. Where's Junie? Probably on the ship, working on that deck of hers. Seraphine looks out at the ship. She's been useful. Not sure we would have got that distress signal without her. What do you remember? He looks at you with concern. Lane. Seraphine grimaces at the mention of his name. Lane. He shakes his head. Seraphine looks out at the rig. He takes a breath, steeling himself for what he has to say. Hexport is... He clears his throat. It's gone. He flinches. What do you mean, gone? It's gone. Seraphine catches your eye. Dropped off the map. No signals apart from one sent from fleeing ships. I don't know what happened. No one does. Your mind skips, unable to focus on the information you have just been told. You think of the constant activity of the bends, the rumble of Factory Row. Karsten. Gone. By the time Bliss reached us, we had drifted out of range. They couldn't have seen it go up. But I saw Sleeper. Something exploded. White hot. He rubs his arms, suppressing a shiver. A moment later, the shockwave was on us. The rig was crippled. Engine kept firing, but guidance went offline, sending us arcing out across the belt. He drops a hand inside his jacket, pressing against the bandage on his side. I managed to get her under control, but not before we started spinning. My restraints came loose and you weren't even strapped in, so we both got scrambled. He smiles a weak smile. Felt like being trapped in an auto wash. He turns back to you. I'm impressed you made it, to be honest. Flesh and blood human would have been smashed to pieces. He goes silent, the image a little too raw for him to continue. Could it be to do with us? Seraphine shrugs. Your guess is as good as mine. He squints. Would Lane do something like that? Does it make sense? Let's suppose a gang. They run dark side. They don't go around blowing up stations. All anyone is seeing is debris and radiation. I picked up a lot of ship transponders before the rig went offline. Maybe some people got out. He stops, unable to add anything more. You both float in silence for a moment. What now? Seraphine laughs weakly. One step at a time. You in a rush? We already owe Bliss for the work they did on the rig, and it isn't finished yet. A few more cycles, I've been told. Bliss won't hold us hostage, but I don't like to skip out without paying, even if we could get the rig started up. He rubs his necklace between his fingers. Bad karma. Beyond that, we need work, fuel, supplies, and we need to make sure you're okay. He counts the issues on his fingers. After that, he shrugs. I haven't heard of anyone coming after us, and if they did, they'd have to come through Hexport, or what's left of it. He looks away. Far spindles way out of Lane's territory anyway. They call this bit of the belt the Wash, and the stations here run differently to Darkside, so for now we have some freedom. Seraphine sighs. Freedom to go broke, starve, and get into even more trouble, that is. In all honesty, I was hoping you might have some ideas. He pats you on the shoulder. I want to explore. The far spindle, there's plenty to see. It's a free station. No one faction holds control, so it's quite the circus. Just watch your step out there. Seraphine pauses and stares down. Look, Sleeper. He rubs his side. I'm not sure I can work right now. I just got kicked out of a salvage yard for passing out on the job. Even with the pain meds, I've been able to scare up. I can fly, that's for sure. He stares obstinately at the rig. You're gonna need some crew if you want to do any serious work. He chews his lip. I'm sorry. Understood. Seraphin nods. He turns away. I'm gonna go take a rest on the rig. I'm wiped. You look out at the rig as he leaves, the warmth and softness of your waking moments now feeling like a distant memory. Is this what you wanted? Freedom. The chance to work for yourself, not Lane. Well, here it is, with all the problems and complications you could imagine. And at what cost? Could Lane have wiped out Hexport just to try to end you? You shiver at the thought. But if not Lane, then who? Theories cloud your mind. Could it have been Conway, a drone or mine drifting starboard, Senate stat perhaps with some plan to weaken the belt, or a belt faction attempting to flip the board by intent or mistake? The belt had considered itself safe from the war brewing in the inner system, but now, Hexport's loss will be felt all across Starboard Belt. But what does that mean to you? Your needs are much more immediate, apparent. Those must come first. You take a breath. Time to make a plan. You find Junie in the airlock, her small collection of things crammed into her bag. I was coming to see you, I promise. She looks nervous. I was waiting for you to wake up, but Seraphin said you were okay, so... You're going? I am. While you were out, she pauses, the concern for you obvious. I was doing some digging. That core, the Solheim one, it isn't the only one out there. I'm gonna keep looking to find another one. I'm not giving up. She takes a breath. But I'm going alone. We can help. No, look, she takes a sharp breath. After what happened with the rig, Bliss saving us, we're all lucky to be alive. She shifts her bag on her shoulder. I think I'm better off alone. For now. Good luck, Sleeper. And tell Seraphin goodbye for me. What are you chasing? She freezes, caught off guard by your question. She pauses. I know there's value, true value in that data, Sleeper. I know it, and She pauses again, unsure of herself. I have a project to continue. One I won't abandon. Maybe I can tell you about it another time. She smiles weakly, closing up again. Well, she rubs the back of her neck. See you around. You watch her drift away, down the docking tunnel, into the far spindle, with questions still bouncing around your head. Maybe if your paths cross again, you might be able to get some of them answered. And that is where we put a pin in this one. That is the end of that sort of first chapter for Citizen Sleeper 2, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in a comment what other games you'd like to see me play, and if you're not quite relaxed or off to sleep yet, click one of those videos on the screen to check out some more videos in this series. Until next time, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Good night.